In the winter of 1855, across the countryside of Devon, England, people woke up one morning to discover that something had walked through their towns during the night, over rooftops, across frozen rivers, through locked gardens, across graveyards, and the strangest part is that whatever it was walked in a perfectly straight line, like it had somewhere to go or someone to visit. Some people blamed animals, some people blamed pranksters, some blamed science. But a lot of them believed something else entirely. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Samantha.
Welcome back to Exhumed. This is the story of the devil's footprints. What makes this folklore story a little bit different is that it wasn't just one sighting or one person's story. The story was reported by entire towns, by farmers and police and newspapers, hundreds of witnesses. And unlike most legends, the story started with something really simple. Started with snow. The night before this all happened, I don't know if it was a blizzard, but it was a very heavy snowfall. Very cold, very windy, and it snowed overnight. So by morning, when people got up to see the snow, they should not have seen any tracks in it. Everyone was sleeping, which meant when the footprints appeared, people knew they hadn't been there the night before. And if something walks across the snow, you see where it came from and you see where it went. But in Devon, no one saw where the tracks started and no one saw where it ended. Now, before we even get started with the footprints themselves, it helps to understand what Devon looked like in 1855. It's all basically farmlands, little narrow dirt roads, little cottages. That's basically all there was. And
all the county road stereotypical things.
Yeah. And in 1855, when it was dark, it was dark. The only light you were going to see was maybe candles in people's windows or someone holding a lantern, which means when weird things happen, people are going to notice. And farmers knew their land. They knew every animal track. They had to because they needed to see what was walking around with their livestock during the night. They needed to know every field path.
Which makes sense because I've only got cows. This looks like a fox. This looks like a coyote. Protect your land.
Exactly.
Figure out what's hunting, what is hunting the animals that you have.
Exactly. So when they stepped outside on the morning of February 9th and saw those footprints, they knew immediately that something wasn't right. Devon County sits along the southwestern coast of England. And in the 1950s, it was connected by small farming communities and villages. These communities and villages were places like Topsam, Exmouth, Limpstone, Dawlish, and I forgot how to pronounce this. I think it's Tynemouth. Have you ever heard of any of those places? You know England.
No, I have. I think it's Timoth, but I could be wrong.
I looked at the pronunciation and it said Tynemouth, so who knows if that's right.
We're just Americans trying to pronounce English names.
Trying to be respectful.
Trying.
So back then, they didn't have Facebook. They didn't have TikTok. They didn't have anything like that. And even the newspapers, news traveled very slowly. And it was often by mouth. It just, word of mouth traveled very, very slowly. And the newspapers would take days to circulate and get to where they needed to go, which meant when Devon saw these footprints, they thought that they were the only town experiencing this. And then when the news broke out, they realized that all of the surrounding towns were experiencing the exact same thing. Everyone was reporting these footprints. They were all seeing the same thing. So February 8th, 1955, there was a huge snowstorm. Like I said, very heavy snowfall, very cold, strong winds. And by morning, the countryside was covered in snow. Fresh snow that nothing and nobody had walked in. But when people stepped outside that morning, they didn't see fox tracks or deer tracks or sheep tracks. They saw something else. And at first it was They were curious. Someone notices strange prints in their gardens. Someone notices them crossing a lane. Someone else notices them outside their barn. But then the stories start connecting because everywhere people looked, they found the same thing. One line, one set of prints, always evenly spaced, always the same shape, like a hoof, but not quite. All of the witnesses' reports seemed to be very consistent with each other. The prints were roughly 4 inches long, about 3 inches wide. They were shaped like a split hoof. Can you imagine what that would look like? Like a hoof print, but it's kind of like split
But
in two, like it had 2
in
toes,
the
you know?
yeah, but I can picture it, but I'm still trying to get over the word hoof. It doesn't sound right. It's right, but it just doesn't sound right in my mind. But yeah, it's got the bottom shape, and then it goes up, and then it's like 2 in the center. It goes down in a V, and then comes back up.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it kind of reminds me of the footprint of a pig, but it's
A little
described
bit.
as, yeah, but they compared it to like a donkey or a small pony, which doesn't make any sense
Okay.
because I don't think they have split hooves, but I could be wrong.
I don't know.
But the spacing was wrong. Okay, each print appeared 8 to 16 inches apart, which suggested something walked upright, like bipedal, right? Not a 4-legged animal. And the most disturbing detail is that the tracks appeared in single file line, not left to right, like something was hopping or balancing perfectly in line. You know how models walk like 1 foot in front of the other? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's how it was.
Oh, so we've got like a donkey or a pig walking on its back legs, like a supermodel.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're talking about. It's
Got a
being
mental
extra.
image. It's being extra. It's being fabulous. But the thing about that is that it didn't just walk in a straight line like this. These tracks were in a straight line all the way through all of these towns and villages. It didn't veer off to one side or the other. Nothing. Just perfectly straight, and nothing got in its way. I'll explain that
Sounds
in
like
a
it was
second.
on a mission.
Yeah. Like it knew exactly where it was going. I'll explain this. So they started getting kind of freaked out because people can explain an animal. You know what a dog track looks like. You can explain a fox track, but this looked deliberate, like something intelligent made it or somebody did this deliberately. Reports came in across towns like Devon, Topsom, Exmouth, Limpstone, Tynemouth, all of them. And the tracks stretched for an estimated 40 to 100 miles in a straight line.
What?
Yeah. A span of 40 to 100 miles because they couldn't tell where they started and they couldn't tell where they ended. They could only estimate, and they couldn't even estimate very well.
Like animals do not walk into a straight line.
No.
Like in small spaces, yes they do. But on a very large path like that, no, they're going to weave in and out at some point.
Yeah. That was one of their things about this is that what can walk that steadily, because they measured how far away the footprints were from each other to determine the pace in which it was walking, and who can keep a steady stride like that for that many miles without stopping, without slowing down in a perfectly straight line.
I feel like birds, but it's not walking, that's flying.
Yeah. So this was a WTF moment. Nobody could figure out what was going on. These footprints didn't just walk in a straight line. They also crossed rooftops. They didn't climb. The footprints would end at someone's house and then begin on their roof, walk across their roof, and then start again on the other side of the house. There were no signs of it climbing or jumping down. It was just a continuous track over rooftops without any breaks. It crossed stone walls as if it had just walked right through it. It crossed over haystacks. It crossed over frozen rivers without any slide prints, just perfect footprints. No sign that it was sliding around at all. And in some places, they stopped at front doors. This is the only time these footprints would deviate, is when it would go up to someone's front door. And then it looked like it just stood there at the front door and then turned around and continued straight on its path. That's creepy.
Yeah.
Imagine being one of the people that woke up and saw their footprints and it had stopped at their front door.
And reminding everyone of what she had said before, this was fresh snow.
Exactly. There was nothing else but these tracks. Now we get to the night that something knocked. One detail that rarely gets talked about comes from a local newspaper report written shortly after the event. According to that account, one family living outside Exmouth reported something strange during the storm the night before the footprints were discovered. Sometime after midnight, they heard a sound at their door. Not pounding, not scratching, just a quiet knock. The father got out of bed and checked the door, and there was nothing there. So he just went back to bed. He shut the door and went back inside. The next morning, the footprints were found leading directly up to that door, stopping just inches away from the threshold, then continuing onward, as if whatever had knocked had simply turned around and just kept walking. So imagine hearing a knock at your front door. You check and there's nothing there, but then in the morning you see the evidence that someone was actually there. And not someone, like you see those hoof prints.
See something.
What the fuck? That's creepy. Now, there's no way to confirm whether that report was exaggerated or misunderstood. Victorian newspapers weren't always the most reliable sources, but it is one of those details that keeps the story going. Because if the footprints were made during that same night, something may have been standing at that door while the family was sleeping. And the thought that something walked across half of Devon in one night, stopping briefly at people's homes, is exactly the kind of detail that absolutely kept the story going. That's crazy. Now, there is an investigation on this, of course. Local investigators attempted to follow the tracks, but the terrain made it very difficult because they crossed over rivers and marshes, and sometimes the wind would make the snow drift over them and it would erase part of the tracks. Still, investigators did manage to measure the stride, like I said, and the way that it was walking, at the speed it was walking and everything. It was walking in a steady pace that entire time, never slowed down. But sometimes these footprints would go right into the side of a cliff or something. You know what I mean? And there's no way that you couldn't go any further. There was no way to get up on that cliff to follow them further, you know? But they would just stop there as if it was walking right into that cliff.
I can't understand why they would tell that, how they can tell if it was walking at a steady pace.
Because of the distance of the footprints, the distance apart.
Yeah, but I'm also imagining, started working out recently this week, and I'm on the treadmill. And while the treadmill is going faster, I'm still taking the same amount of my legs are going the same pace in between each other, just slower.
You think they are.
And then when it starts to go down into the rest mode, where it goes from 3 to 1 to 0.5, as I'm doing it, my legs are going a little bit further apart, or at least it feels like it.
Maybe. But I mean, think about how far away the footprints would be from each other if the thing started running. They'd be further apart. You know what I mean? It makes some sense.
On something that's not moving with a rotating belt, yeah, I can see it. And then, yeah, when it slows down, say if it were to be running, yeah, the footprints could be further apart. And when it slows down, it would probably be closer together.
Yeah. But if it was walking at a steady pace that entire time for 40 to 100 miles, that's not something that an animal or a human would probably be able to do for that long, you know? In a straight line, walking with their feet single file or hopping, whatever it was doing for that long. Now, there's a lot of theories to what this could be, and no theory gets it exactly right. It'll be okay, my theory makes sense here, but it doesn't make sense here, or it makes sense here, but you know what I mean? No theory explained everything. Once the snow melted, the only thing left were, of course, the questions, because whatever made those tracks never appeared again. Nobody had ever seen them before, and no one ever saw them after. So this happened just one night back in 1855, just one night. No creature was ever found. No person ever confessed. And no evidence explained how something could walk across half of Devon in a single night. So people started coming up with theories. Some people believed the tracks belonged to animals. Okay. Foxes, badgers, or rabbits, but farmers insisted that the prints looked like hooves, like a split hoof, right? Another theory suggested an escaped kangaroo. They thought maybe a kangaroo escaped from a traveling menagerie. But kangaroos leave tail marks, and there was no tail marks. And it wouldn't leave a single file print anyway, unless it was hopping like Tigger on its tail, you know?
Oh, Tigger.
And no tail marks were found. Another explanation suggested a weather balloon dragging a rope, but it wasn't drag marks. It was distinct hoof prints.
Like, this almost sounds like the entire Alien, the UFOs. Like, oh no, it's a weather balloon. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that.
Yeah.
It's kind of what it sounds like, but different century.
This could have been an alien, but why was it going up to people's front doors? What was it doing?
Butt stuff.
It wanted some butt stuff. Now, another idea suggested mice hopping across the snow, but those would be very messy footprints. They'd be like all, like, yeah.
There'd be extra toes, and they would be smaller.
Yeah, but it would be like the whole mouse, you know what I mean? Not just its feet. And it wouldn't be...
It would have its butt print because it's
Maybe.
A very small animal. The feet are small. The legs are small.
Yeah, it would be like a messy track, and it wouldn't have gone in a straight line. It would have kind of gone all over the place, especially if it was more than one mouse, you know?
Kind of would have been an adorable track, though.
Probably, yeah. But yeah, witnesses reported clear individual prints, so it couldn't have been mice. Now, there was also a possibility that there was a hoax, but, you know, they thought that it was maybe somebody stamping hoof-shaped blocks into the snow. But first of all, they think that that would have taken more than just one person. And what happened to their footprints? How would they have done that? 40 to 100 miles long in a straight line. And how would they have done that without walking in the snow themselves?
Well, there has been... You ever hear about the theories of crop circles and how people have done that themselves? Like they've got a special equipment.
Yeah, like
where
a
they
board.
put their feet in. Yeah.
Yeah, but how are they going to do that? These prints looked like hooves, so they might have been like, you know, however big around my hands are right now. And they were in a single file line, always the same distance, and there were no marks in the snow except that.
The only thing that I can come up with is they had special shoes to put on their feet in order to do that, but it also does not explain how they were able to do that from 40 to 100 miles, because
in a perfectly straight line without leaving climb marks, without slipping on the ice. Nothing?
A human, I don't want to say that a human cannot do that and say that someone at that time did not have the capability of walking that distance. I mean, who knows?
I'm sure they probably did.
That is very extravagant.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, yeah, somebody might have been able to do that, but the consistency of the pace it was walking, the distance, and the fact that there were no slip marks on the ice. How the hell did they jump from the ground up to someone's roof? How did they not leave? Okay, like let's say there's a stone wall, right? These footprints would go straight up to the stone wall, and then they would continue on the other side of it. But on top of the stone wall, there would also be snow. So if something climbed over that stone wall, the snow on top of the wall would have been disturbed too, and it wasn't.
Okay, so I want their energy and stamina?
Stamina?
Is that the word? Yeah, I want
Yeah.
that.
I mean, even if they were using a pogo stick, that is pretty impressive that they were able to stay in a straight line and not slip when they got on the ice and jump that high over stone walls and on top of people's roofs.
And we can't even rule out that it was multiple people because there would have been tracks.
Yeah,
Like, hey, I'm tired, you take over. There would have been a track.
there would have been human tracks, yeah. Even if they tried to cover it up, you would see that the snow was at least disturbed, and there wasn't anything like that. So that's when folklore starts creeping in, because it always does. And back in the 1800s, you know that, first of all, in I hate this word so much. In the countryside, I'm not going to say the R word. I can't say that word.
Rural.
In
Rural.
rural
You can't.
England.
Countryside.
Yeah. There's always been stories about things that roam the countryside at night. There's always some kind of folklore. There's black dogs and phantom travelers and, stuff like that. And in some of these old stories, they're just, they're made up as kind of warnings for kids. One of the warnings is that if you ever see tracks in the snow that don't belong to anything you recognize, you do not follow them. That's one of the folklore beliefs, and that's exactly what they did, because they wanted to see where it went.
I feel like that's almost common sense. It would be common sense, but at the same time, I want to follow them. What is it?
Exactly. And guess what else played a big part in their community? Religion, superstition.
And this was in the late 1800s?
Mid-1800s, 1855. So, of course, they would have believed that, nothing else makes sense except the devil walked across the countryside.
Yeah, because at that point, witchcraft had died.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't really think of anything else. Because a lot of the Christian folklore had ended in the early 1700s.
Well, one of the descriptions of the devil is that he's got hooves.
Well, yeah.
And the way that it walked in a straight line and the way that the tracks just continued at a steady pace, did not deviate at all whatsoever, except for going to people's doorsteps, that seemed supernatural to them. I mean, it does seem supernatural. And there are stories. Okay, I'm not going to get into religion because I have not read the Bible. I don't know much about it, but I know that there are stories of instances where...
You have not read all of the Bible.
Not all of it. There are stories of instances where they would walk at night and go to people's doorsteps. I don't know who it was, but it's a biblical thing. So that's what they were thinking. But the one thing that really stands out with historians is the fact that these footprints only appeared once. Like I said, there were no earlier reports. Nobody ever saw them again. That's kind of weird too. That's like, okay. Because if they had seen them before, or if they had seen them after, because I would be like, well, let's keep an eye out and see if we can figure out what this is. Let's see if we can see it again, and maybe we'll figure out what it is. Maybe we'll see whatever it is. You know what I mean? But they never saw it again.
I've got nothing.
Yeah. Because you know how like something weird will happen and you're like, what the hell is that? And it kind of freaks you out, but then it'll happen again, and then it'll happen again, and then you figure out, oh, that's what it is. You know what I mean?
I wonder if, I don't know the footprints of a deer, maybe an oversized deer.
Walking upright like a supermodel?
Oh, no.
One foot in front of the other?
Strutting its thing? No, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's what's the weirdest part about it. You can explain it in a bunch of different ways, but the stride and the straight line, one foot after another, and it doesn't slip on the ice, and the way that it hops up on rooftops and over stone walls and everything, it makes no sense. Nothing can do that. Nothing we know of can do that. That's why they thought it was the devil.
Have you listened to the news recently in Ohio about Bigfoot?
No, I've heard something about it. There's like a mass sighting.
Yeah, I guess there's been like 6 or 7 sightings
Bigfoot
in
doesn't have
Northeast
hooves.
Ohio. We don't know that.
True.
But there has been like 6 or 7 sightings of Bigfoot in the last 5 days in Northeast Ohio. It stands up on on 2 feet. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to pull things out of my ass to, like, try to make something make sense.
I know. That's pretty much what most of our episodes are about. Like, make it make sense. What is this?
I want to believe.
I know. So, yeah, imagine waking up tomorrow morning. You step outside, fresh snow covers everything, and across your yard, you see footprints. They're not human, they're not animal, they're something else. And they cross your fence, they cross the road, they cross the rooftop. And when you follow them, you realize they don't stop. They go on for miles across towns and rivers and half the countryside, always the same shape, always the same distance apart. Like something walked through the night while everyone slept and nobody saw it, nobody heard it, nobody knows where it came from, and nobody knows where it went. The snow melts, the evidence disappears, and people are talking about it for centuries because no one has ever figured out what it was. And the idea back then that they thought, of course, they thought that it was the devil. I probably would have too. I'm kind of wondering if it was. You know?
Aliens.
Aliens. And then on top of that, the strangest part of it all is that it only happened once and nobody ever saw it again. Like whatever made them only needed to pass through Devon one single time.
All right, so okay, it's Devon, England.
Devon, England.
Get on maps. Okay, yeah, so it doesn't make sense. What I was thinking, it doesn't even matter what I was thinking, my theory. It was just a goofball thing. Go back to our Haunted Bridge episode. You remember the bridge in England where the devil made a pact
With the mason or something?
Yeah, because his wife was, her dress was getting wet crossing the river, so make a bridge. If the mason couldn't do it quick enough, then the devil did something. I can't remember what the hell it is, but the mason completed the bridge and the devil threw a fit. So I was thinking maybe that could be the pathway, but we're talking about 400 years.
Yeah. That whole
400
story.
years apart.
Yeah, the whole story is that I think if he couldn't get the bridge done in time, that the devil would complete it. I might be putting two stories together. The devil would complete it, but the devil would also get the soul of his fiance or his kid or something like that. So the mason did finish it in time, and that
But the
pissed
devil
the
threw a
devil
fit.
off. Yeah. So the devil took a brick, but someone else saw the devil take a brick. So when the devil left, the guy went and took the brick and put it back in place.
And there were markings on the brick, but they also put the first person across the bridge. I can't remember the actual story about the first person across the bridge, whether they were doomed or not, but they sent a black cat over it to be safe.
Yeah.
And they saw the devil down below, like throwing rocks, throwing a fit over the whole thing.
He threw a fit because he wasn't going to get his soul. I think these are two different stories that we're putting together right now, because the other story is that the first person to cross that bridge, because the devil did make this bridge, the first person to cross it, the devil got their soul. So instead of sending a person across the bridge, they sent the cat across the bridge so that the devil would take the cat's soul instead. But then after that,
stories.
Yeah, but then after that, didn't they say that they still didn't want to cross that bridge? Like nobody crossed that bridge because they weren't sure if they had tricked the devil or not, because the devil was probably like, no, that's not what I meant. I don't want the cat. I want a human.
Yeah, and then they saw the devil like throwing a fit underneath the bridge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the story where the guy saw him take the brick and then went and put it back.
Yeah. Yeah, so while you're talking about this, all I'm thinking about is, could these be the same footprints? But then I looked it up and it's like 400 years
400 years apart, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that was over in France anyway. The Devil's Bridge, wasn't it?
No, I'm pretty sure this this one was in England, but there's so many different stories.
Yeah, I think you said one story was over in France. Maybe that was the story that you didn't tell because there were so many things that you couldn't pronounce. Maybe. How do I
And
remember
th
this more than you do?
No, because there's Devil's Bridge in so many different countries,
Yeah.
and we recorded this episode, I don't know, a year ago, and as soon as I record an episode, it's kind of out of my head onto the next.
Really? Everything
For the most
sticks
part.
in my brain, like everything. Because I got to know this stuff before I,
Well,
you know,
I'm also
record it.
doing the historical part all around the world, and I have to be very factual, so I gotta remember it when we record it and then move on to the next.
Yeah, yeah. You do your research in a different way than I do.
Mhm.
Very different way. But I don't know. Do you think it was the devil? What could it have been? Like, what are our theories about it? The pogo stick? Probably not.
No.
And I think there was a
Because
story about how one of the footprints went up to this person's front door and then they realized that it continued from the back of their house, as if this thing went up to their front door, passed through their house, and just kept walking. But I might have interpreted that story wrong.
I don't know. I mean, it's possible. I'm a spiritual person, I'm not a religious person because I do not believe in organized religion.
Me either.
If I believe in religion, it's going to be in the confinement of my own home. Um, but while we talk about all these different things, aliens, Loch Ness Monster, Bermuda Triangle, vampires, mermaids, we cannot rule out that God doesn't exist, the devil doesn't exist.
No, I don't rule any of it out.
Um,
Even when people are like, well, if you believe in aliens, that's science, so you can't believe in God. No, I believe in both. I think they work together.
yeah, no, I mean, there are so many things that are unproven. Well, you've got the Bible, you've got the scriptures, you've got all these different things, but
Mm-hmm.
there's only so much that's in the Bible.
Yeah,
What if something was left out? All the
there's a
different things
lot
that
left
were
out.
yeah, all the different things that there's supposed to be like 5 miles under the Vatican of all these scriptures. And the Vatican has also released their information on UFOs and aliens. So
Mm,
you can't say,
they released some. I don't think they released all of it.
yeah, no, I mean, who's going to release all of it? But it all goes kind of hand in hand. Like, it's about having an open mind.
Yeah, you have
Like,
to really
nothing,
have an open mind to listen to us too, because there is nothing off the table with us. Not that we
it's
necessarily believe, but we don't disbelieve anything either.
It's not that I don't believe it or disbelieve it. I want more information.
Yeah,
It's like it doesn't matter what it is. It could be aliens, it could be Loch Ness Monster, mermaids, Bermuda Triangle. It could be God, it could be everything. There's just so much out there that, of course, no one is talking about because as people in a group, we are dumb. So why
yeah,
would they release any information to us?
yeah,
So what harm does it do opening up our minds to thinking that there is something else beyond what's been given to us?
yeah.
Because you start putting things together, things do not make sense. Like, okay, what is this? Why is this happening? And then this happening?
And it's because we don't know our true history. I mean, the
No.
Bible isn't all of it. There is an entire book taken out of the Bible called the Book of Enoch. And they took that out of the Bible because because it kind of contradicts everything, how do I say this? The Book of Enoch pretty much rewrites the entire history of our existence, of the beginning of humanity. So what's right and what's wrong? Why did they leave some stuff out? Why did they put bullshit in that isn't true? Why are they lying to us? This is where we came from. This is our creation. Why are we not allowed to know? So when stuff happens around the world that could very much be biblical, nobody believes it. Nobody even thinks about it.
And it's a lot of different translations. So all these different religions, all I mean, what? There's like 185 religions around the world.
I don't know.
Oh god. I mean, I could be wrong about that. It could be more. But they all kind of say the same thing, that there is darkness and there is light, and they cannot exist without each other.
Yeah, there's got to be balance. But, there are all kinds of different beliefs. That's why I hate it when people are like, I get mad when we get comments, mostly on TikTok. It's mostly TikTok. We'll get comments, people arguing with each other, people arguing with what we've said in the clip. And we're like, we don't know, and neither do you.
We're
It's
just
just
giving
beliefs.
information.
Yeah. Like, how can you tell me I'm wrong? Because you don't know. That's the whole point.
Well, but branching off from that, like the idea that there could be hooves,
Yeah,
that could actually be the devil
it could,
or
because the devil was
Satan
supposed to
or
have, whatever you want to say. But one of the descriptions is that he has hooves. But the thing that freaks me out is that he's walking at a steady pace. He's not climbing. He's not slipping. He's walking like single file with his feet to where it looked like
I
something was actually hopping on one foot, which could also be the case. But why? Like, what is this
well,
thing?
why couldn't it have been him or her? Why couldn't it have been the devil?
It
I
could have
mean,
been.
in so much biblical things like the rapture, I'm not even going to continue on with all the things because I don't know. They talk about the rapture all the time. Why doesn't the devil walk the earth?
Well, if
It's a
anything,
very good possibility. Take a roam around. Why not? See
I
what's
th-
going on.
I think maybe. I mean, I think if anything biblical was walking the earth, it would have been way, way, way before that, like thousands of years before the 1800s. But
That could have been the most recent time
people think that the devil walks the earth every day now.
in different forms. Yeah.
And it could have been a very literal thing. Sometimes I think the Bible is way more literal than people even realize.
I think there is what has been printed is only a fraction of what actually exists.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And how watered down is it because it's been written over so many times and it's been changed.
In
So,
translation and all the things.
yeah, to fit different
And it's been
agendas.
written, and especially with it being written by how many times humans get things wrong? How many
Exactly.
times did humans get things right? I mean, it's definitely a
Usually,
balance.
yeah, usually if we get too close to the truth, we get lied to over and over and over again to where, we think, okay, we must not be right. You know what I mean?
It's smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like we're getting way too far into religion and way too far into
Yeah,
conspiracy right now.
no, absolutely. But we're talking about the possibility. Like people are possibly thinking that this could be the devil walking the earth.
It could have
Not
been
trying to
because
get into religion, but
they never figured out what it was. They never saw it beforehand. They never saw it after. Nobody could figure out what it was. And so there's no proof it wasn't, unless you're someone who just doesn't believe in the devil, period.
and there's no proof that it was.
Exactly.
That's what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
That's the fun
Frustrating,
part
though.
of it.
It's fun, but it's frustrating because, I want to know. My goal in looking up all of this different stuff, and I know that I am never going to achieve this, is I want to take all these theories from all these different places and try to fit them like a puzzle piece. And then maybe we can actually figure out everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I love having an open mind to all of this because it's curiosity for the brain.
Yeah.
It gets your brain going. It opens your world up to different possibilities without being confined into a box.
Yeah. I love hearing other people's theories, and I don't argue with anybody. I'll have my
want
theories.
to hear them.
Exactly. I'll have my theories, and then someone else will give me their theory, and I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And I kind of intertwine the two, and then I come up with a different theory.
Yeah, it's just information that feeds the mind, and it's curiosity, and it's all the possibilities that can be out there.
Yeah. And different people have different theories because different people know different things. Like you might tell me a theory because you know certain information that I've never heard before. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. That makes sense, and then your theory kind of changes a little bit. So I hate when people argue with me about stuff because, just give me your theory.
Yeah, don't fight. Don't knock on my
Yeah.
door unless you want to talk about the Gospel of Elton John. But but I'm curious.
Yeah,
I want to know what you have to say and why you believe this, just to add on to more information. It's like, oh,
exactly.
I've never heard that before. That's curious.
Yeah, exactly. It alters your own theory a little bit. I feel like if everyone in the world got together and put all their theories together, we'd figure it out. We'd figure out everything. We'd figure out what exists and what doesn't, where we came from, everything.
I mean, hell, John Lennon was talking about that 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. It's not going to happen.
I know, we're not ever gonna figure it out. My belief is that we have all the knowledge when we die. Well, that's it for the Devil's Footprints. Down in the comments, tell us what you think it is. There's no wrong answers.
No, and just try not, I mean, a friendly debate is good, but don't come after us for shit. I mean, you can, naturally. That's human nature.
Go ahead, whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, we're open to suggestion. We encourage it. We like it.
Yeah, tell us your theory. Don't be afraid to comment. Tell us your theory. Nobody's wrong.
But do all the things to help us out, like every single other person on every podcast, every YouTube channel says. Like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Hit that button. But what do you have coming up?
I have a lot coming up, and I haven't decided which one I'm going to do first, but I have a bunch of them. So I guess tune in next week and see what we have. What do you have? Do you have anything coming up?
I'm still working on the Hilitara, or Hilitara. Working on a couple of Irish things, but I am also working on UFOs in Ohio that directly connect to Area 51.
I vote for that one. I want to do that. I actually have a really, really brutal story about a cannibal family that I kind of can't wait to do. So I might do that next. I don't know. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up, though.
And what we say right now isn't always what's going to be next week because
we haven't recorded it yet. We don't know.
Yeah, we haven't recorded yet. We haven't fully researched everything yet. A lot of our research depends on our mood. And if we're in the mindset for it, well, it's going to be ready. But that's kind of the lineup of what we're thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like we said, do all the things that help our channel grow and reach new people. And we thank everyone who has listened to us from the beginning. I know some of it's been kind of rough, but you guys are troopers. We love you for it. So thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. Have a good night.
Have a good night.